Saffron is one of the most aromatic, flavorful, and colorful spices in the world. But did you know that it is the most expensive one? What makes it most expensive is that it is actually the stigma of a flower of crocus-sativus plant, and it has to be hand-picked, and it requires about 150 flowers to collect just 1 gram of saffron. So while we won't get to be millionaires growing saffron in our home gardens, it will be fun to see if we can grow it at all. Hi, this is Ruchi, and let's plant some crocus-sativus plants in our garden. Ideally, the saffron bulbs should be planted 6 weeks before the chance of first frost. But for me, it's already late. It's already November end, and the frost comes in December. But I'm going to plant it in any case, because if they don't bloom this year, there is always the next year. And I saw that these bulbs are already sprouting. I got the bulbs a month ago, and I just didn't plant them, and they are already sprouting. So they will probably go bad if I don't plant them. So I'm going to plant them in any case. The ideal time is by mid-September in zone 9, you should plant it. If you are in a zone less than 9, like 7, 8, or 6, then you should be planting them in August. When planting the bulbs, make sure that the pointed side is up and the flat side is down, and they should be about 3 to 4 inches below the ground. If the ground freezes where you live, or if it snows there, then you may want to plant them even deeper so that they are not affected by the cold temperature on the top. So plant them in the soil which is well draining, and it should get a lot of sun, because otherwise you'll not get good blooms. They start to sprout within 6 to 8 weeks. And slowly they'll start to grow. Make sure that you water them consistently if it is not raining where you live. Otherwise, they'll just keep growing. So for me, they started growing in December and through January and February, March. And towards the end of April, they started to turn yellow, which meant that they are not going to bloom this year. And so I started fertilizing them with phosphorus-rich fertilizer so that they store energy at least for the next season. And by the end of May and June, they kind of died off. I left these bulbs in the soil because, as I said, I'm in zone 9 and the ground doesn't freeze. So I just left them there. So our saffron bulbs have sprouted back again. It's the month of October, and I have moved them in full sun, and I have been watering them now regularly. And look what I noticed today. Do you see this flower bud? Can't wait to see this flower. So excited. There are no flower buds here, and I can see only one here, but I'm hoping more will grow. And another interesting thing is that from each main plant, like a big plant, several small ones are growing close to it. So it seems to me that the bulbs have multiplied. I didn't plant bulbs so close to each other, like these are 2 plants growing next to each other. Here, 1, 2, 3 are growing next to each other. Here again, 3 are growing next to each other. So bulbs have multiplied, and that's great news, because if you want to harvest saffron, you need a lot of flowers. One thing to note is that these flowers bloom only for 1 day. So in the morning you will see a bud, and by evening they'll open up. And if you miss that chance and go there only the next day, probably the flower will be spent and you'll probably not get the chance to collect the stigma. So you have to be very quick, and whenever it is blooming, you collect the stigma. I'm so happy that these plants are blooming now. I had to wait 1 full year to see these blooms. If I had planted them at the right time in the first year itself, we would have gotten some blooms, but I'm happy that I got the blooms at least the second year. Can't wait to have more and more blooms next year and the year after that. Wow, within few hours, at least one flower opened up. And I'm sure within few hours the next one will open up too. And look at these big stigma, the red ones. Those are what we want to collect as saffron. So I'm going to just take a tweezer and pick this here. I don't want to pick the flower. Oops. All right. We have 3 saffron threads from this flower. I was hoping that this will open up by evening, but it is not, so we'll do that tomorrow. But this is how you harvest the saffron threads, and I'm going to just leave it inside, and in a few days it will be completely dry, and then I'll store it. Did you know that you need 75,000 flowers to harvest 1 pound of saffron? Yeah, that's why it is so expensive, and it has to be collected manually like this. It's labor intensive too. So planting saffron was no different than any other bulbous plant. You basically plant the bulbs and you keep on watering them, and just make sure that they are in sunny spot, otherwise you'll not get any blooms. And once the blooms open up, you collect the stigma from it, and then you just keep on fertilizing them till the plants die back, and then in the next season they'll sprout back again. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, leave me a comment and I'll try to answer as soon as possible. If you like this video, press the like button, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to share it with your friends and family. And I'll see you next time. Happy gardening. Bye.